All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving into something pretty wild. It's haptic technology, and you might be thinking,
Video games.
exactly, like, oh yeah, I've felt that buzzing in my controller.
Okay.
But trust me, this goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
We're talking feeling the texture of, I don't know, like a virtual sculpture, or getting a virtual high five that actually feels like a high five.
It really does feel like we're on the verge of something big here.
Yeah, and to get the full picture, we've got two great sources lined up, a Forbes article that's got all these real-world examples, and then a video from Freethink that goes deep on like the how and the why of it all.
And it's really fascinating stuff. People tend to think of haptics as a gaming thing, like you said, but it's poised to break free from that in a big way.
In a big way.
Yeah.
And to prove it, I found this report from Fortune Business Insights. And get ready for it, they're predicting the haptic technology market will hit, wait for it, $7.31 billion
Wow.
by 2030. This is not a niche tech anymore. This is going to be everywhere.
Yeah, that's not a fad.
No. Okay, so the Freethink video takes us inside this company called Afferents. And they're kind of like the rebels of the haptic world, Instead of using those like clunky vibrating motors that we're all used to,
Right.
they're doing something totally different. They're sending electrical signals directly to your nerves, bypassing the skin completely.
So skipping the skin, that's interesting.
Yeah. They explain it like this, and I love this analogy. Your nerves are like telephone wires,
Oh, okay.
and haptic technology is tapping into those wires to send messages to the brain, creating the sensation of touch. Like crazy, right?
It's almost like it is hacking the nervous system in a way to make you feel things that aren't actually there.
Right, and it makes you think about how our sense of touch normally works, right? So you've got the sensors in your skin,
Yeah.
and those sensors send signals along your nerves up to your brain,
Yeah.
and that's how you feel things.
Right.
But with this, you're skipping a step. You're going straight to the source.
Yeah, it's a much more, I guess, direct approach.
Direct. And it's wild. In the video, Afferents' co-founder, Dustin Tyler, he tells this story about his work with prosthetics.
Oh, wow.
And he helped this woman with a prosthetic leg feel the ground as she walked down the aisle at her wedding.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
How amazing is that?
Yeah, it's a very powerful example of, I guess, the emotional side of touch. Yeah, and what Afferents is doing is essentially restoring that connection for people who have lost it.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, where else can we take this? I mean, we've got this incredible tech that can basically make you feel things virtually, but what happens next? And that's where that Forbes article comes in.
Okay.
It's packed with all these real-world examples that go way beyond gaming.
Like what kind of things are we talking about?
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
But one that really stuck with me was this thing with Newcastle Football Club in the UK.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
They used haptic technology to create these shirts that let deaf fans feel the roar of the crowd during matches.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine, like, experiencing that energy through touch?
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, it really highlights the potential of this technology to create these incredibly inclusive experiences.
It's not just watching the game, it's like feeling it.
Yeah, it's like a whole new level of engagement and connection.
Totally. And then, the article also talks about how researchers in Japan are working on this technology that lets you send, like, tactile sensations to someone remotely.
Oh, so you could actually feel something that someone else is feeling.
Yeah. Like, imagine being able to send someone the feeling of a hug, or like the texture of a piece of fabric they're thinking about buying online.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? And it gets to this whole other level of, like, human connection.
Yeah, it's almost like expanding the language of touch. It's not just about words or images anymore. It's about being able to share those physical sensations
And feelings.
and feelings.
In a whole new way.
Exactly. And that opens up so many possibilities for how we communicate and connect with each other.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's like taking empathy to a whole new level,
Oh, no.
like actually feeling what someone else is feeling. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff. And I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with haptics.
Oh, for sure. There's so much more to explore.
Mm.
And we're going to do just that right after the break.
Mm.
Stick around. Okay, so we've seen what haptics can do, create these incredible experiences, these connections. But where do we go from here? What's next for all of this?
Well, I mean, the demand's definitely there. The Forbes article talks about how the demand for haptics in everyday devices is just exploding.
Yeah.
Like by 2028, they're predicting almost 7 billion haptic-enabled devices.
Wow.
That's basically like one for every person on the planet.
That's a lot of buzzing.
It is. It is. But it makes sense, though, right? I mean, think about how much more intuitive our tech would be if we could actually feel it,
Yeah.
instead of just looking at a screen all the time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the FreeThink video kind of touches on this too. They were talking about, head-up displays and wearables that seamlessly integrate haptic feedback.
Oh, interesting.
So imagine, like, your smart glasses giving you directions with a gentle tap on your shoulder,
Oh, I like that.
or like feeling a notification on your wrist that's more than just a vibration,
Yeah, it's about blurring the lines between the physical and digital worlds, right?
right?
And I think that's where VR and AR really come into play.
Makes sense.
Because right now, they're largely visual and auditory experiences.
Right.
But with haptics, you could actually feel the virtual environments that you're interacting with.
Oh, that'd be insane.
Imagine reaching out and touching a virtual object and feeling its weight and texture.
Whoa.
Or getting a realistic sense of impact when you bump into something.
It would be like you're actually there.
Exactly. And it would take immersion to a whole new level.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But, the video also makes it clear that the technology is still evolving.
Right.
Like right now, most haptic feedback is pretty basic. It's things like vibrations and tingling and pressure.
Yeah, we're still in the early stages.
Yeah.
But researchers are working on creating much more complex sensations.
Oh, really?
Imagine feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin in a virtual world.
That'd be pretty cool.
Or the coolness of a breeze.
Oh, yeah.
They're even working on simulating things like texture and pain.
Wait, pain?
Yeah.
Why would you want to feel pain in a virtual world?
Well, it's not about intentionally causing pain.
Okay.
It's about understanding how our nervous system processes it.
Gotcha.
And this could be huge for things like pain management and developing new therapies.
Oh, okay.
Think about it. If we can manipulate the signals that cause pain, we might be able to treat chronic pain conditions without medication.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're using haptics to hack the pain signals in our bodies.
Exactly.
Wow.
But of course, that kind of technology raises some ethical questions too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to be really careful about how we use it and make sure it's not misused.
Right. Definitely. And I think that's a theme that keeps coming up with haptics.
Yeah.
It's this incredibly powerful technology with so much potential,
Yeah.
but we have to be mindful of the unintended consequences,
Absolutely.
like a double-edged sword.
It is.
And speaking of challenges,
Yes.
I think one of the biggest ones facing haptics right now is standardization.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There are all these different companies developing haptic tech,
Right.
and they're all using different approaches and protocols. It's kind of like the Wild West out there.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, the Forbes article actually used that same analogy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was saying that without some kind of standard,
Right.
it's going to be tough for haptics to really take off.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, imagine if every phone manufacturer used a different charging cable.
Oh, it would be chaos.
It'd be a nightmare.
Right, exactly.
But luckily, it seems like things are starting to move in the right direction.
Oh, good.
The article mentioned that MPEG, the organization that standardizes audio and video formats,
Yeah.
they've recognized haptics as a first-order media type.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's really significant.
So what does that actually mean, like in practical terms?
Well, it means that MPEG is going to start developing industry standards for haptic technology,
Oh, okay.
which is going to make it much easier for developers to create content that works across different platforms and devices.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's going to be a game changer for the entire industry.
So it sounds like the future of haptics is pretty bright, even with the challenges.
I think so, yeah. The technology is constantly evolving, the demand's increasing,
Yeah.
and we're starting to see some movement towards standardization, so
Yeah, we're on the right track.
I think so.
But let's not forget that haptics is about more than just cool gadgets and immersive experiences.
Right.
It's about human connection and accessibility.
Exactly.
It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, it's about exploring the full potential of human experience.
Totally.
And that leads us to some even bigger questions about what haptics means for our understanding of reality and how we interact with the world around us.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's take a deeper dive into that right after this. All right, so we've talked about the tech, the possibilities, all the challenges, but there's this whole other layer to this that we need to unpack, right?
Definitely.
Like, if haptics can make digital experiences feel this real, what does that even mean for us,
Right.
as humans.
And that's where things get really interesting, I think. We're talking about a technology that could fundamentally change how we experience the world and how we connect with each other.
Exactly. And the FreeThink video touches on this a little bit. They talk about, how haptics could blur the lines between reality and virtual reality. Like if you can feel a virtual handshake, a hug just as intensely as a real one, does it even matter if it's real anymore?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer,
Yeah.
but it definitely challenges us to rethink what real even means in a world where technology can create these super convincing sensory experiences.
Right. And it's not just about the philosophical side of things. There are some real world implications too. Like what happens to human touch when we can just simulate it so easily?
Sure.
Will we become less reliant on physical contact, or will it actually make us crave it more?
Well, that's something researchers are already looking into. And
Mhm.
some believe that haptics could actually enhance our appreciation for real-world touch,
Oh, interesting.
making those moments even more special because they're, less common.
Yeah.
Others worry that it could lead to a kind of sensory detachment where we become more comfortable with virtual interaction than physical ones.
Oh, wow. It's almost like we're at this crossroads, and the choices we make about how we use this technology are going to really shape the future of human connection.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful way to put it. And it's why it's so important to have these conversations now about, the ethical and societal implications of this tech. We need to be thinking about these things before it becomes so pervasive that we can't turn back.
For sure. And speaking of ethics, there are some specific concerns that come up, right? Like privacy. For example, if haptics can, transmit increasingly subtle sensations, does that open up these new avenues for manipulation or even exploitation?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a valid concern. Imagine if advertisers could use haptics to make you crave a certain product or feel a sense of urgency to buy something. Or what if someone could use it to, cause you physical discomfort or even pain remotely? These are things we need to be thinking about and, actively working to develop safeguards against.
Yeah, that is a little bit scary when you put it like that.
Huh.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? There are also some really amazing potential benefits to this technology, especially when it comes to, things like accessibility and inclusion.
Absolutely. We've talked about how haptics can create these inclusive experiences for, people with disabilities, like those haptic shirts that let deaf fans feel the roar of the crowd.
Right.
But imagine the possibilities for people with mobility impairments, or communication challenges. Haptics could be used to create assistive devices that allow people to interact with the world in ways they never could before.
Yeah. And then there's this whole idea of using haptics to foster empathy and understanding between people from different cultures or backgrounds.
Imagine being able to experience through touch what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. Literally, haptics could be a powerful tool for breaking down barriers and building bridges between people.
It's like walking a mile in someone else's shoes to a whole other level.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so exciting about haptics. It's a technology with the potential to not only change how we interact with the world, but also how we connect with each other on a really deeply human level.
So to wrap things up, it sounds like haptics is way more than just a cool tech trend. It's this force that could reshape our world in some pretty profound ways, both good and bad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And ultimately, it's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to create with it.
Very well said. All right, so to our listeners out there, as you encounter haptic technology in your lives, remember to think critically about it, ask questions, and demand that it be used ethically and responsibly.
And don't forget to stay curious. This is really just the beginning of the haptic revolution, and who knows what amazing possibilities lie ahead.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of haptics. Until next time, keep exploring.